Hi guys, my name is Nikki, aka the Dragon Queen, and today I'm here with my March/April-ish reading wrap-up. Now I'm talking about the books that I've read thus far. I may repeat something from my previous wrap-up video. I apologize ahead of time. I don't recall doing a March wrap-up, but that doesn't really mean much. So I'm just going to start with the books that I definitely know I read in March and continue until what I'm reading now. The first book I read, with 429 pages, was Zodiac by Romania Russell. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and it was part of my 52 book challenge. Overall, I really enjoyed this book and the concept. Basically, every planet has its own zodiac sign, so everybody who lives on that planet is that sign. So there's Capricorns all on one planet, there's Cancer all on one planet, etc. The main character in this book is a Cancer, and it's her and her best friend Sagittarius, who's a Sagittarius, learning what to do through all this chaos, and when too much power and need is put onto one person who's only a child. She's 18, 17, I think. There's a lot of things thrusted upon her, and she has to figure it out. And then when she does figure it out, shit just goes wrong. So I enjoyed it enough that I want to continue to read it. I did not like the love triangle in this book at all. I felt like it was forced, so to speak, especially since, potential spoilers, especially the first romantic interest was, I've known you from afar for a while, but we never really were friends. But I've had a crush on you this entire time, so now I'm going to tell you about it. And the other one is the daring stranger who helps her. Now, the daring stranger, I get why you would fall for him, but the crush seems silly because there was no reason in my mind why she would like that person, but that's just me. So anyway, 4 out of 5 stars. I do recommend the book. I do want to continue to read the series. I do believe it is a series. The next book is Wandering Star, so I plan on continuing with that series. Book number 2 I read was The Beast Within by S.L. Perrine. This was 211 pages, and it was a beta read. It is now available out on Kindle and in paperback. S.L. Perrine is the author of Immortal Slumber, if you haven't heard me talk amazing things about her before. This was not part of anything. I just read it to beta read it for her, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was One Last Stand by M.A. Ray. M.A. Ray is a friend of mine, and this was a 29-page fantasy on ebook only for only 99 cents. It was phenomenal. Anything she writes is phenomenal. 5 out of 5 stars. Up next at 435 pages is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Overall, I definitely see why people are enjoying it. I am enjoying this more as the series continues on and the children are getting older. There were some issues I had with this one. Number one, why would nobody... Okay, first off, why would they not allow him to go to get butterbeer or wherever the place was called? I can't remember. But they'll allow him to go into the forest for punishment. Like, that doesn't make sense. Number 2, Snape has so much goddamn attitude. It's ridiculous. Like, if I get that he's like a lot of people's favorites character, and I can see why, kind of, but he's a dick. Like, he is really rude the entire time. He treats him unfairly, and he just gets away with it. All because he wants to be the or he wants to be the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Really? I mean, overall, there were some things that I had obviously complaints about. I do see it getting better, and I do see Harry's life improving, which I like. I will continue to read it, obviously. There are just some things that reading this again as a adult, I'm a little like, why aren't the adults doing this? Like, why are the kids having to figure out? I mean, I get it, it's a story, but still. Okay, off my high horse. Up next at 429 pages, I listened to on audiobook Tana French's In the Woods. This was part of my 52 book challenge. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Overall, this book was about a man who, when he was a little boy, went missing with his 2 best friends in the woods. He is found later clinging for dear life onto a tree with blood inside of his shoes that is not his, that they're aware of, and scratches on his chest and a memory loss of the last 12 hours. Now he is flash forward, a detective, and the same thing happens. A child is found missing, or a child is missing. Sorry, a child is found dead, and he is finding some eerie similarities to his childhood, and he's getting some flashbacks and some memories back, and it's basically things go for a wrong turn and they just keep getting worse. Overall, I did enjoy the mystery of this. I enjoyed the flashbacks. I think they handled that very well. I think they handled the relationships well up until the point with spoilers where they ruined it. I think if they kept it as a platonic friendship like it was forever, it would have just been really good, and it would have stayed really good. I'm sure there was a reason for it, but it was doing so well without the romance, and then they had to throw a little bitty itty bitty romance in it and fuck it all up. So that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars instead of 5 stars. But overall, I can definitely see how this is a Edgar Award winner, and I do recommend it. Up next at 400 pages, I listened to The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This was a reread for me. I listened to the audiobook this time around, and gotta say, still a 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely adore this series. I wish there was like not a standalone, because it hurts so bad, and she hasn't written anything since this one, at least not that I've seen. She has one other book out, but I think it was written before this and it's not related, and that makes me sad. I want to read more about this world. I want to see what happens. I'm trying to see. This was written in 2011, so it's been 6 years. Okay. So this one I gave 5 out of 5 stars to. This was part of my 52 book challenge. It was my reread challenge. This is also going to be the book club of the month book for Heather at Zether Books. If you would like to read it, I do recommend it. I do have seen some reviews on it saying that it was lackluster and it was very descriptive. It is very, very descriptive. I will give it that. However, I feel like it gives a very magical sense to it because of the descriptions. So I do recommend it if you like descriptive books. And overall, I like the relationships in this one. It doesn't feel forced, and it doesn't feel rushed, which makes me happy because this book goes over their 30 plus years, so highly, highly recommend. Up next at 432 pages is Book 3 of the Bill Hodges series, End of Watch by Stephen King. Now this book I gave 4 out of 5 stars to. Overall, I did enjoy the series. I enjoyed this book. I liked the main bad guy. I think that it was very clever of what Stephen King created with his way of killing people despite being a paraplegic and in a coma. I thought that was actually really clever of him on how he did that. However, I will say that trigger warning on the suicide portion, there is a lot of, that's basically his thing, is convincing people to become suicidal, and they play on that a lot in book 1. or towards the end, they play on it in book 1, where it becomes his new thing where he wants to convince people to commit suicide. And since he can't convince, or he's having a hard time convincing Bill Hodges to kill himself, he starts going towards other people. So I will say that those parts were really difficult to read when he was fucking with people, but it was a very good read. Up next at 362 pages, I listened to the audiobook for John Dies at the End by David Wong. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was really funny. It was like this guy was telling you his story, and it was kind of breaking the fourth wall, and it was like he was talking to you, but he wasn't talking to you. So that part was really humorous. If you like any of the like Kumar Goes to White Castle type movies, or Silent Bob and Ted type thing, you'll probably find this funny. The only thing I wasn't a fan of is there was a lot of drug use in it, and I'm not a huge fan of drugs. It seems kind of like a cop-out when you're adding it, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like the main focus, like, oh, I'm a druggie. It was more just like part of the story. So, I mean, overall, I did enjoy the story. I thought that it was very interesting concept. I like the fact that it's very similar to like Limitless type thing. And overall, I would recommend it. It's very funny. It was a very quick listen to. Up next at 446 pages, I listened to Room by Emma Donoghue. I have this book somewhere in my room, but I can't find it right now. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book was really dark and strange. So it is a book that has a 5-year-old protagonist, and if that's not weird already, then it's just gonna get weirder. Basically, I don't want to give too much away, because I guess I could do a spoiler review somewhere, but basically what you do know is that the mother was kidnapped and the son was born in captivity. You know that already. Room is the place that he stays, and it's the only thing he knows. He doesn't know the outside world. He doesn't understand that it's real. When you're reading it, you slowly learn from his perspective as he learns from his perspective, and that's very clever how the author did that. The one thing I didn't like about the book was I think that people weren't very empathetic about how to treat Jack, the main protagonist, when he was released from captivity. They were very impatient. They were very unkind. They didn't understand how to react. And perhaps it was because it was supposed to be like you're in his perspective and then you suddenly get all these other perspectives, so you're seeing their thoughts, and you technically normally wouldn't see those thoughts. So maybe these are normal thoughts that would happen in this situation, but it felt like they were just rude and disrespectful and uncaring and unloving and impatient. And even the mother was pushing it because she was so excited, and then Jack wanted to go back, and she just wasn't comprehending. And it kind of made me sad to see that, because he had to grow, and I don't know if he responded appropriately, but I mean, how would you really know without being in the situation? So I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. It is definitely a thought provoker. It is definitely a deep book. It's dark, and I will say there are trigger warnings in here up the fucking wazoo, so be prepared for that if that's something that you need to be concerned about. Oh, Room was 321 pages. Up next is Odd Thomas with 446 pages by Odd Thomas, or by Odd Thomas, by Dean Koontz. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Overall, I liked it enough to continue the series. It follows a man named Odd Thomas, clearly, who has the peculiar ability to, basically he calls it psychic locating, I think it is, where he can just basically think about a person and figure out where they are by just following his thoughts. He can also see ghosts, which leads him to some interesting and peculiar situations. The only thing I don't really like about this series so far is that he is a very heavily religious man, and usually that's kind of grating on me. He does it okay most of the time. I also believe he's a little too naive for someone of his age. He's 20, 21, and he's just very simple. He kind of reminds me of Forrest Gump, so to speak, but he's not slow, and he doesn't have any problems that they mention, but he's just very like, I'm going to be a fry cook, I'm a fry cook, and he doesn't catch on to things. And there are some things that they don't make sense, but he usually just doesn't catch on to things, and it's very frustrating. I did not see the ending coming, so I did like that aspect. So I did pick up book 2 already and read it as well, or listen to it. After Odd Thomas, I read or listened to The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is also one of my 52 book challenge reads. Now this book I bought for a book club a while ago, and I never read it. It sounded intriguing, but at the same time it sounded less fantasy-ish, and I was all up in fantasy at that point. But when I listened to it, it was actually really good. It was really long. It was 487 pages, but it was like an 18-hour audiobook. Like, it was really long as an audiobook. Now, because if you look at it, it's only 487 pages, but it's a big book in the small font, so, or it's normal size font, but it's a big book. So I think as it would be a lot more pages if it was a lot smaller, like if it was this size, or even like 5.5 by 8.5, or 5.5 by, yeah, 5.5 by 8.5. So overall, this book is about a boy when he is 10, Danielle. He is brought to the Cemetery of Books, and the Cemetery of Books is a special place where books go to remain alive. These are books that have been long forgotten, and these are like the last copy or one of the last copies of the books. And when you go there, you pick a book, and that book is the book that you have to hold safe. It basically is your life to keep that book safe. When he goes, Danielle picks the book Shadow of the Wind. He's never heard of it. He's never heard of the author. But he picks it up, he just feels like it's the right book, and he goes home and reads it immediately. And then that's when things start to go weird. So then you watch Danielle grow up from 10 to eventually 18. You see his reaction as things start happening, as he is offered money for the book, he is threatened for the book, and everything else in between. You see him trying to discover who the author is, what happened to the author, and find out what is going on with this author and his works. And you slowly discover the chaos that unfolds because of it. It's very mystery filled, it's very fantasy filled, or it's mostly mystery, but it's based in Barcelona. So if you're looking for a book that's based in Spain, this is definitely the book for you. And I actually really enjoyed it. I thought that there was a lot of cool and clever choices and decisions made by the author, so would highly recommend this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Up next at 364 pages, I listened to Forever Odd by Dean Koontz. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. This was not a very good second book in a series, in my opinion. While book 1 held my interest, book 2 was kind of losing me. I only finished it because I was listening to it, and it wasn't very long of a listen. It was about 8 hours long, so it only took me about a day of work to listen to. So in this one, he is slowly getting back into his normal life due to the happenings of book 1, and he realizes that his friend is missing, so he goes to find his friend, and they have a woman there who is the bad guy. And while I like the bad guys, and I like the concepts, I didn't like that things just happen for Odd. And I get that it's psychic magnetism. That's the word I was looking for, by the way. I get that it's psychic magnetism. I get that. And I get that he is special and he's unique and da-da-da-da-da. But there were just things that happened. And he's like, oh, I'm just waiting to see what would happen. And then things would happen. Like, he didn't actually do them or cause them to happen. They would just happen. Like, an example, and this is kind of a spoiler, I guess, the bad guy is there in front of him and he's about to die, and a fucking lion appears. Why? Why is there a goddamn lion in an abandoned building in the middle of fucking nowhere? Like, why? Why is there a lion? Why? Where did the lion come from? Seriously. And also, if there's a lion, why didn't it attack Odd too? I don't understand. I don't understand. Also, other little things that happen is he just happens to say the right thing, or he happens to do the right thing, or he happens to survive something that he shouldn't have survived. And it just got really kind of frustrating because it's like one of those books where you know he can't die, and it's like, where's the challenge in that? Where's the surprise and the suspense? So I don't know if I'll continue reading it from this series or from this book. I'm kind of hesitant. I want to see what happens, if it gets better, because I like Dean Koontz and some of his books are just hit or miss for me. But I'm kind of feeling like Dean Koontz is losing it for me. Like, I'm getting really irritated with I don't like overpowered characters, and while his flaws are blatantly obvious flaws, it's just like, you know he's gonna win, so what the fuck is the point of reading it? You know? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If you've read the series, let me know if I should continue it. And the last book is the book I am currently reading, and that is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I am listening to this on audiobook. I did buy it for that purpose because I had some time. So it's 314 pages. I could probably read it faster than listening to it, and I might switch to reading it instead since I did buy it. I'm not a huge fan of the voice actor. Honestly, their voice is really raspy. Now, for some reason, I went into this thinking it was about a gender fluid person. I don't know why. I might be mixing up books, or I might have mixed up the book at some point, but it's actually about a boy who is born with facial deformities, and after years of surgeries, he goes to school and he gets to deal with the horribleness of 5th graders, basically, and dealing with public school for the first time. I'm not very far into it thus far. I think I'm about a third of the way through, maybe 20%. But I'm enjoying the concept. I'm enjoying his outlook in life. Like I said, I don't like the voice actor that much. His voice is very raspy. It kind of reminds me of, what's her name? It kind of reminds me of that lady from Monsters Inc., the secretary. It's just like a very raspy voice, and I can't get over that. It just irks my brain, and yeah. So, though I bought it, it was only like $5. I think I'm going to finish reading it physically and then go from there, and hopefully still enjoy the book. I do like most of it so far, and plus it's supposed to be a major motion picture according to this. Is it? When was this out? This was published in 2012. Yeah. So, I don't know. I hope I like it. Everybody else seems to like it, but that doesn't mean much. The only other things I was reading and I need to finish is I need to finish Harry Potter book 4, which I'm going to either listen to the audiobook or read it. And I'm waiting currently for the library to send me the audiobook because it's easier to read in the drive and at work while I'm listening to the books. And I need to finish Waistcoats and Weaponry by Gail Carriger because I couldn't find it for a while. It was sitting right here, but I couldn't find it. So yeah, those are all the books I read. I'm officially up to, excluding Wonder, I'm officially up to 41 books for the year. I'm not sure how many books I've read. Let me count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So counting Wonder, I'm at 14 books for the 52 book Pop Sugar Challenge. I should be at 15, I think, or 16. I think I should be at 16 this week. So I am a little bit behind, but it's not as bad as I had expected. Thankfully, listening to the audiobooks helped tremendously. The biggest thing with the April is I haven't really physically read any books in April. Since Harry Potter, all of my books have been, since Harry Potter book 3. No, I think I listened to that one too. Since The Beast Within and Zodiac, all of my books have been audiobooks. Like I said, started a new job, so I've just been listening to audiobooks instead of sitting down and reading. And it helps my day go by faster, and I am still getting my reading in, which I do appreciate. And I'm still enjoying the book and learning about the book and reading things off my shelf. But at the same time, I hate that I'm reading books that I already own, kind of, because it's like, I bought them, I should read them, and now I'm just reading them from the library, so why did I buy them? But at the same time, I wouldn't have read them from the library if I wouldn't have bought them, so it's kind of a catch-22. But anyway, let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you think I should read anything next on my 52 book challenge. I am going to put up my Empty Shelfie book soon, or I already did. If it's not up already, it'll be up soon. The announcement video with my TBR for next month. And like it if you like it, subscribe if you want to, and this is the Dragon Queen signing off.